Learn English with simple yet effective English podcasts and practice with PDFs in each lesson.
Hello, everyone. This is the 8-Minute English Podcast series on the Learn English Podcast channel. Did you notice today's video is over 8 minutes long?
Don't be too surprised. This is a special episode to thank all our loyal viewers of the Learn English podcast.
I'm Nathan, your host, and I am happy to be here today. Today, let's talk about a really popular topic. I can understand English, but I can't speak. Does this sound familiar?
You watch movies, listen to songs, or even follow podcasts like this one, and you think, yes, I understand what they're saying. You know these words. Maybe you even know what they mean in your own language.
But then someone asks you a question in English, or you try to speak. Suddenly, it feels impossible. Your brain freezes like it hits a pause button. The words you know, where did they go?
You feel stuck, frustrated, even shy. Why does this happen? Understanding English and speaking it are different skills.
Speaking takes more than just knowing the words. It takes practice, courage, and patience. So today, we're going to explore this problem and how to move past it.
Make sure to check out our episode PDF, which is filled with tips and useful vocabulary to support your English learning journey.
Now, are you ready? Let's dive in.
The first reason is you're not speaking enough. Think about this. You've probably watched tons of movies, listened to podcasts, or read English subtitles. But when's the last time you spoke out loud?
Speaking is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it stays weak. You might understand every word in a Netflix show, but when it's time to say something yourself, your brain panics.
Second, you're probably afraid of messing up. Imagine this. You're in a coffee shop. You want to order in English. You know exactly how to say, "I'd like a cappuccino, please." But then, fear kicks in.
What if they don't understand me? What if I sound silly? That fear is like a big wall stopping you from speaking.
And third, you're probably stuck in your first language. Many learners think in their first language, then translate into English. This takes time and can make sentences sound unnatural.
For example, in some languages, "How old are you?" might translate as, "What is your age?" When you translate directly, it can confuse you.
The good news? This isn't forever. With practice, you'll find your voice. I'll talk about this in the next part of the podcast.
First and most importantly, speak, even if it's not perfect. I know you might be thinking, but what if I say something wrong? Let me stop you right there. The goal isn't to speak perfect English. It's to get your message across.
Just think of babies learning to talk for the first time. Do they start with perfect grammar? No, they say things like, "Want cookie?" And guess what? People still understand them.
Why does this work? Because speaking, even with mistakes, trains your brain to put words together faster. It helps you build fluency over time.
There's something called the input hypothesis by researcher Stephen Krashen. It suggests that language learners improve faster by focusing on meaning and communication rather than perfect grammar.
So how do you do this? Just start small. Practice simple sentences like, "I like pizza," or "I went to the park." Then, you can build from there. The more you speak, the easier it gets.
Next, shadowing native speakers. This is a really fun one. A lot of people have followed this method and made a lot of progress in their journey.
Here's how it works. Listen to a native speaker and immediately repeat what they say. Copy their tone, rhythm, and pronunciation. Think of it like being their echo.
So why does this work? It's all about muscle memory. Your mouth and tongue get used to forming the sounds of English. Plus, you'll have the chance to learn how real conversations flow.
Here's a real-life example. Pick a short clip from your favorite movie or podcast. Play it, repeat it, and try to sound exactly like the speaker. Even 1 minute a day can make a big difference.
Let's move on to another trick that many people overlook. Practicing speaking alone.
I get it. You might feel silly talking to yourself. But trust me, it works.
Just start by describing your day. For example, "This morning I had breakfast. I ate eggs and toast." Or, Look around you and name objects. This is a chair. It's brown.
Let me explain why this helps. Speaking alone removes the pressure of speaking to someone else. You can practice forming sentences at your own pace. It's like training for a race without an audience.
I have a friend learning English who used to talk to her plants every day. Hello, plant. You look happy. Today. Sounds funny, right? But her speaking improved so much because she practiced every day without fear of judgment.
Let's talk about some important words related to today's topic.
Speak up. This means to talk louder or express your thoughts clearly. If someone says, I can't hear you, they might ask, you to speak up. This is helpful when practicing speaking, especially if you're shy.
Get stuck. When you get stuck, you have difficulty continuing what you're saying. This often happens when you forget a word, don't know how to express an idea, or feel anxious.
Pick up. To pick up a language means to learn it naturally by hearing and using it often. You can pick up English by listening to music, watching movies, or talking to native speakers.
Get the message across. This means to communicate your idea clearly, even if it's not perfect. When you speak, focus on helping the other person. Understand you instead of worrying about small grammar mistakes.
Step out of your comfort zone. This means doing something that feels new, challenging, and unfamiliar. It can feel scary, but trying new things helps you grow and learn. The more you step out of your comfort zone, the more confident you'll become.
Let's be honest, learning individual words is great. But when it's time to speak, do you ever feel stuck?
That's because words alone don't flow naturally in real conversations. Instead, focus on learning. Phrases, chunks of language that people use every day.
For example, instead of memorizing help, learn a complete phrase like, can you help me with this?
Or instead of just think, practice saying, what do you think about this?
These phrases come up again and again in conversations, so they're much easier to recall when you need them.
Research supports this approach. Studies from applied linguistics show that learning in chunks boosts fluency because your brain doesn't need to create sentences from scratch. It's like having ready-made building blocks.
Just practice these phrases in real situations, at the store, asking for directions, or chatting about the weather.
I know speaking English can feel scary, especially with strangers. But what if you start small?
Speak with people you're comfortable with, like friends, family, or even other learners.
Low-pressure situations allow you to focus on building confidence instead of worrying about mistakes.
Remember, fluency doesn't happen overnight. It's like exercising a muscle. Start with short, simple exchanges, like ordering coffee or greeting someone, and work your way up.
Apps like HelloTalk, Tandem, or Speaky are also fantastic for finding conversation partners. They connect you with learners or native speakers who are just as eager to chat.
And the best part? You're all in the same boat, so there's no judgment.
Here's the key. The more you practice, the more natural speaking will feel.
Here's another tip to help you speak English better. It lies in listening.
If you want to speak better, first, you need to listen better.
Active listening helps you learn sentence structures, expressions, and natural responses.
Here's what to do. Watch podcasts, TV shows, or YouTube videos where people speak naturally.
Pause and repeat lines you hear. Pay attention to intonation, rhythm, and sentence patterns.
For example, notice how someone says, "Really? That's amazing," versus, "Really? Are you sure?" The tone changes everything.
Researchers believe that imitation trains your brain to think like a native speaker.
When you mimic real conversations, you're rewiring your brain to process English faster and more naturally.
So don't just listen. Copy what you hear.
Finally, let's talk about fear.
Many people understand English but hesitate to speak because they're afraid of making mistakes.
But remember, mistakes show you're learning. Just like kids fall before they walk, errors help you grow.
People value effort over perfection.
Here's a quote that I love. Confidence comes not from being perfect, but from trying anyway.
So focus on getting your message across, not on perfect grammar.
Now, let's review some useful phrases we talked about today.
Take time. This means you need patience to do things. Learning a language doesn't happen overnight. It takes time.
Move on. To move on means to continue to the next step. When you finish something, it's important to let it go and focus on what's next.
Work your way up. This means improving step by step. You start with easy things, then slowly try harder things as you get better.
In the same boat. This means sharing the same situation or problem as others. It reminds you that you're not alone. Many people face the same challenges.
Pay attention to. This means to focus on something. When you pay attention, you notice details that help you learn faster.
And that's the end of today's episode.
What did you think about today's podcast? Did it bring you any new discoveries or insights? We hope this episode gave you helpful tips for practicing English. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next time.
Bye for now.